So the other day I was working on sort of like a video, a sort of product commercial of the Canon M50, which I have right here. So I was working on a product video of this camera, and I was taking these shots, working on the video, and I wasn't very happy with the shots. I thought they were a bit boring. There was kind of nothing going on. There was no movement. The lighting was all right, but it was nothing special. And I just wanted to do something to spice it up, you know, make it a little bit nicer, make it a bit more professional. But I didn't really have any ideas. I was putting the footage on my computer, and I just couldn't work out what to do to make it any better. And then I remembered I could do stuff like buy a Lazy Susan, which is one of those like spinning table things that I've seen people put food on. People have put monitors on them. I mean, you can put whatever you want on them, and it just creates that kind of spinning effect. But to be honest, I didn't really want to go and buy one of them. And then I could have also used string to hold the camera, but then again, that's pretty risky because if the camera was to drop, then it would probably break. So I didn't really want to do that either. And then I remembered that a few months back, I was watching this TikTok of this guy who made his own Lazy Susan, and he used stuff like fidget spinners and books and stuff to create it, and it actually works out really well. So today I'm basically going to show you how I did that, how I set it up, so you can set it up and better your videos as well. Now at the end, I'm going to give you an editing breakdown to show you how I did the speed ramping of the clip, so it spins really fast or slowly, all that sort of stuff, as well as sound effects, so that you can have an understanding of how I've edited it, because original footage looks good, but obviously without the edits it would be nothing. So I'm just going to show you how to basically make this Lazy Susan yourself, how you set it all up, how to film it, basically just document the whole process, and we'll see where it takes us. So we're going to be using the Canon M50, which I hope is pretty obvious by now, and this is going to be the camera we're taking the video of. We're also going to be using the Sigma 50mm f1.4, which is going to be taking the videos of that, as well as the lenses on the camera right now for the more close-up shots. And then we'll also be using the Rocket Air Blower to remove any unwanted dust. So of course we're going to need our fidget spinner, which I have right here, and we're also going to need some blue tack, or in this case Whyte tack. So I'm going to be using a light bar, but if you don't have a light bar, that's absolutely fine. You can just use something like your phone torch, and it will do a fine job. But this is just going to be used to help with lighting the camera. And then finally a book. Okay, so I've made some bits of blue tack here, some like pieces of blue tack, and we're just going to put these on the bearings of the fidget spinner. Okay, so I got the blue tack on the fidget spinner, and now we're just going to try and get this in the middle of the book somewhere so that it balances correctly when we turn it upside down. Okay, so I got the fidget spinner about here, so now I'm just going to try and evenly press it down. Okay, so it's all pressed down, and now we're just going to turn it over, and hopefully it should balance. And then we can just give it a spin, and there you go. It's now spinning. Now I'm going to add a piece of black paper or card or whatever you have on top of the book, so that kind of masks out the blue, which is quite visible sometimes. So that now when we put the camera on here, we just got to find the middle point. So now that black card, when our camera is set up, if any of the book, or in this case the black card, was to be in the shot, because it's black on black, there's a low chance of you being actually able to see it. And that's it complete. This is our homemade, if you see under here, the fidget spinner is under there. And this is our homemade Lazy Susan. Pretty simple. We just have our tripod placed around where the camera is right now, and then we'll maybe punch in on it so that as it spins around with the right lighting, we get a really nice effect. Just before we jump into the editing breakdown, the camera settings I used and all that sort of stuff, we're going to play the final video on the screen so that when we do jump into the editing, you can work out why I did certain cuts for what reason, why I speeded up some bits, why I slowed down other bits. So I'm going to play that on the screen right now. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. Let me know on Instagram what you thought about it, because it's also up there as well. Now moving on to camera settings. So most of the video I shot was shot between f9 and f13. Now the reason I didn't shoot something like f16, there was two reasons really. One, because it'll be too dark, and two, because sometimes it loses a bit of quality when it's that high. And the reason I didn't shoot something like f4 or below is because it becomes too blurry and there's not enough in focus. I also shot at a shutter speed of about 1/200th of a second. Now because the product was moving, I didn't want any motion blur in each of the frames. So by having a higher shutter speed, it means that each frame there is no motion blur and it's really sharp and really crisp. And I shot an ISO of about 200 to 400. Now, even though I had tons of light all around, because I had a high aperture and a high shutter speed, I needed a slight high ISO, but 200 to 400 is absolutely fine. And finally, I shot at about 50 frames per second. Now, this is perfect because even if I half it, so 50% speed, that gives me about 25 frames per second, so I still get some really smooth slow motion. So now I'm going to give you a little editing breakdown in Final Cut Pro. So to start off, we have the music right here, and we have two sound effects, two whoosh sound effects. Now, the grayed out, the blurred out, darkened, if you like, bits of clip here, these are for Instagram and TikTok, so you can just ignore them for now. The bits that I used in the video I showed you earlier were just these three bits here and the clips at the top. So I started off from going from this little demonstration for Instagram with a little glitch transition into the first clip. Now, I wanted to have a fast bit at the start, going into slow motion and fast again using speed ramping. So I worked out that I wanted it to go slow about here so that as it came around it was nice and slow, and then it speeds up at the end. So in order to create this split from going fast to slow, you click Shift B on the keyboard to split two different time sections here. I then click the drop down button right here, you click custom, and then I set the speed to 1000, and then I come over to this section and click the drop down custom, and then clicked 50%. And then after that, you use these little sliders here to drag up and down to adjust the speed in which it goes from fast to slow and the transition between them. So you can see now that it goes fast, then it transitions into a slow speed. And then we did the same up here. We used Shift B to split this end bit off, and we clicked 2000% speed, adjusted the transition so it went slow to fast. We also added a whoosh transition right here as it speeds up again at the end. Okay, so this clip is normal. I just used the light bar to create this kind of light effect, and it is at normal speed. And at the end of the clip, I use a fade to black. So you can see it fades in to black and then fades out of black into the next shot to create a nice transition rather than just a straight cut again. This clip is another simple clip. It's also at 100% speed, and the light just goes from the bottom to the top and then fades to black again when we have another whoosh transition into our final clip, which is at 50% speed, so there's no speed ramping. 50% speed, and it just kind of pans around until it's almost centered and then fades to black again as the music ends. And you can see here I added a keyframe in the music here and a keyframe in the music here, and I just used this keyframe to move up and down, and when you move it down to about minus 20 something decibels, 27 decibels, so the music fades out at the end. So fairly simple, but that is the whole editing breakdown. So that is it for today's video, and I just wanted to point out that stuff like this, although it seems like slightly pointless, I know I'm getting stuff for Instagram, and you may think, is there any point in me doing this? But you never know in the future. If a company was to reach out to me, for example, and they say, could you shoot this product video of me? What have you done before? I can then provide them with product photography I've done, stuff like this, stuff I've made in previous videos, so then show them what I've done in the past, and then they can make the decision if they want to hire me to do a video for them. So you never know what could come around the corner at any time in the future, which is why doing stuff like this could come in handy at one time. But that is it for today's video. If you're still here, you're an absolute legend for making it this far. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something new. I think you should go give this a try, and if you do, make sure to tag me on Instagram when you post it. But that's it for today's video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Let me know on Instagram what you thought about it. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. Let me know on Instagram what you thought about it. Is it